Okay. Yes. All right. So, hello. If someone could please close the door. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Cowart. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Fridgeworthy, which is our senior show.
Okay. Tonight you'll see works so good that your mom would put it up on the fridge. So I'm just saying. I'm Mabel.
I'm Addison. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Kolby. Before we begin, a disclaimer. There is some adult content in the work being shown tonight. So if you're offended by rule breaking and heretical comedy, the doors are that way. And also, there are emergency exits if a fire just decides to poof appear.
Some of our more explicit content includes drug use and Gallus domesticus murder, so just a warning for the faint of heart. At this time, please silence your phones, tablets,
Game Boys,
and telegraphs. Also, photography and video is allowed, but please no flash. Also, you should know that we're recording this if you want to look at it at another time. We're also live streaming, so hello to everyone at home. Thank you so much. Before we begin, a special thank you to the creative writing teachers who I can't see because it was very dark for the house lights over there. Ms. Swiddick, Ms. Hatte, Brendan, Sarah Rolliter. Thanks for coming out and enjoy the show. Okay. So when I first met Kolby, at callbacks for creative writing. I looked at those sordid faces, and I first found Kolby's face. She was the only one smiling, and I sat down across from her. I found out that we actually went to the same middle school, where we probably passed each other a dozen times a day and didn't know it. As you may know, since you're here at our senior show, we both got in for creative writing. What you may not know is that we quickly became friends and collaborators. During finals week, we made ourselves comfortable under tables or in the corner of the library and watched bad movies on Netflix. While in the car, we turned the music up all the way and sing off key. And though I've had several more fun memories with Kolby, there have also been some educational ones. Like when Kolby taught me what yeet and on fleek meant. Or like when Kolby gives me quick Photoshop lessons. Shout out to Kolby for designing the programs, by the way. And so I actually photoshopped something for Kolby, which is projected. Anyway, without further ado, here's 2018 Creative Writing Pie Day Eating Contest representative, Post Malone and Jake Morisnick #1 fan, Photoshop queen, and my best friend, Kolby Cowart.
Oh, that was so sweet. I'm gonna cry. No, I'm not. I'm stronger than that. Okay. So for kicking off this, I'm too tall for this. Story of my life. Okay. So my first piece that I'm reading is a screenplay that I wrote last semester about an 8-year-old taking his grandmother from a retirement home and they have a fun time. So if I have some friends helping me read, so you're one of those people, please come over here. You're very important. I can project. This is gonna work. Okay.
Technical difficulties, everyone.
Can y'all hear me good? Yes or no? Yes. Awesome. All right. Let's begin. All right. Interior, Myrna Retirement Village, day. Edna, 82, sits upright in her bed. The morning news plays on her television. Her attention is on the main anchorman.
Oh, Ross, you handsome dish.
A knock erupts from the door. Her grandson, Charlie, 8, stands in the doorway. Little footsteps echo on the tile floor and throughout her room.
Grandma.
He squeezes her neck tightly.
Hello, Charlie. Oh, it's so nice to see you.
He giggles and stands at the foot of her bed.
Is your mother around?
She's not here. It's just me.
Where's the rest of your clan?
Luke is at school and Mom's at work.
Wait, honey, how'd you get here?
He looks down at the ground.
walk from school?
Charlie hesitates.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end of the day anyways. No one's gonna care.
But honey, you're only 8.
8.5.
Still, it wasn't smart of you to do that.
I wanted to see you, though.
You could have gotten Luke to drive you.
Charlie looks down at the floor and quiets his tone.
Luke doesn't want me around.
I'm sure that's not true.
That's what he told me. He's always playing his video games, and he never pays attention to me anymore.
His arms crossed, he sinks into the chair.
If it makes you feel better, I love having you around.
She pinches his cheek. He smiles, then sighs.
I wish he still lived with us.
I wish I did too. I hate it.
Charlie gasps.
I have such a great idea.
Tell me your great idea.
What if I snuck you back to the house? You wouldn't have to live here anymore.
Charlie.
I could keep you in my closet or under my bed.
Honey, that wouldn't.
I wouldn't be able to bring you to school, though. Miss Martinez doesn't allow me to.
That's so thoughtful of you, sweetheart,
And you
but
would get to meet Lenny, our hamster. Yes, come on, let's go.
He tries to pull her up from the bed, but she falls backward onto it.
I can't go with you. I have to stay here.
No, you don't. You have...
Your mother has spent a lot of money for me to be here for reasons I still don't understand, but I would love to come with you.
That's why I don't tell her.
He snaps his fingers and points to her.
Please, for one day,
She
please.
becomes defensive.
Unless you pick up some plan that I'm not going
But
with.
I have.
He pulls out loose pieces of paper and a tiny notebook filled with scribbles and slaps it onto her bed.
How long have you planned this?
A few days, I think.
Montage. Charlie explains the plan to her. He stands from his chair and paces around the room while grasping onto the notebook. He picks up different pieces of paper and holds them up to show Edna.
And that's how we're gonna bust you out of here.
I've got to admit, that was a well thought out plan for an 8
And a half.
and a half year old.
So, we'll do it.
She shrugs.
You know I'd do anything for you, my boy. But I would love to spend the day with you.
Yes, this could be my Christmas present.
Let's hope this plan here works, and then
After some time, she finally gets out of her bed and slips on some flats and puts on a flowery jacket.
I'm so glad that I can finally get out of here for the day.
Or forever.
Charlie puts someone evil grimace on his face. He steps out into the hallway and Edna shuts the door behind them. Exterior, Tipton Street, later. Edna and Charlie walk down the street hand in hand, arms swinging. The sun is high in the sky and birds are chirping everywhere. Edna sighs.
I wish Luke came with us. I never get to spend as much time with him as I do.
He doesn't do anything. He does a skateboard and listen to death metal.
Death metal?
Yeah, like this.
He lets go of Edna's hand and gets her air guitar. He moves his head vigorously and starts to scream deeply. Edna is speechless.
Like that.
They both giggle and also come across the playground.
Look,
He lets go over and sprints toward it. Edna tries her best to keep up, but gets to the structure whenever he goes down the slide.
you should go.
Oh no, Charlie, I'm far too old.
No, you're not. Go.
He gently pushes her toward a ramp that leads up to the slide. She grips the railing tightly as she gets closer to the drop. Charlie stays down at the bottom.
You got this.
She gets to the top of the slide. Her feet dangle down the small humps and she begins to shake. He begins to chant.
Grandma, grandma.
Edna inhales and pushes herself off the top. Her flowery jacket flies in the wind like a cape. She screams excitedly as she goes down the bumpy slope. When she gets to the bottom, another boy stands next to Charlie. Stevens, 7, jaw hangs open.
That was awesome.
Edna stands to her feet and brushes herself off.
That was the most fun I've had since we had that polka band come in for the afternoon at the village.
How long ago was that?
I have no idea.
Charlie takes notice to his friend.
Dude.
He snaps his fingers. Steven gets out of his daze.
Oh my god, that was insane.
A voice is heard in the distance.
That's my mom. I gotta go. She's making tacos.
He whispers in Charlie's ear.
By the way, your grandma is so cool.
He begins to talk to himself.
Wish my grandma was that.
He disappears down the hill. Edna and Charlie walk in the opposite direction. Interior, Toys R Us, later. The automatic doors open. They head inside towards the aisle labeled trucks. He grabs a bright green one with giant wheels on the shelf.
Can I have it, Grandma? Please, please, please.
She shrugs.
Would your mother allow it?
Ooh, I don't think she would mind.
He winks.
I guess it's okay then.
He carries the truck in his arms while they walk around. Charlie's stomach begins to growl.
I'm hungry. Can we go home and eat?
Her stomach growls.
I love some enchiladas.
Those are my favorite. How do you make enchiladas?
I really don't know. We can figure it out.
Well, let's go before my stomach eats me alive.
They walk out the doors and alarms begin to go off. A few moments later, the manager, 45, walks toward him.
Sorry about this. It's probably a mix-up. May I see your receipt, ma'am?
She gives him a confused look.
I thought I already got one of those.
Wait, did you pay for that truck?
You're supposed to pay? In the village, we can just grab things.
Ma'am, this isn't the village. This is Toys R Us.
Toys are good.
He groans.
Please, come with me, both of you.
Edna shuffles behind the manager. Charlie is still holding onto the truck while they are escorted to a very back room of the store. Interior, Toys R Us toy jail, a few minutes later. The manager hangs up the phone and picks up a newspaper. Charlie paces back and forth while Edna sits on one of the plastic chairs.
I'm 8. I can't be a felon.
Honey, don't worry.
Don't worry. That man over there told me we're going to real jail.
This was just a big, to be completely honest, I forgot why we were here in the first place.
Knock erupts from the door and Lorraine, the two appears in the door frame with a worker. Mother.
Mom.
Edna stares off into space. Charlie is leaning onto the plastic bars.
Mommy, you have to get us out of here. They sent us to real jail, and I can't go to jail, Mommy. I'm only 8.
He starts to hyperventilate.
And I have to take care of Lenny next week, and I can't do that from here. Help, please.
Lorraine somewhat ignores him, but after a while he calms down. Edna snaps out of her daydream.
Oh, hi, Lorraine. When did you get here? 2 minutes ago. That's nice. Did you see why we're in here? I wish I knew.
The manager puts his paper down.
They tried to shoplift a toy truck.
A what? Was man all here with a truck?
A $30 truck, yes.
She grabs her wallet and throws 30 and some change at him. He puts the money in the desk drawer and pushes out a plastic bar. The entire structure falls and Charlie goes to hug Lorraine.
Mom, I am so sorry. I didn't think I stole the truck. Please don't take anything away. I'll be better, I swear.
He lets go and Edna casually walks her way out of the destroyed structure. Why should they think that all okay?
You wanted a toy truck? Mom, didn't have any money on you. You don't need any money at the village.
This is Toys R Us, Mother.
I already told her this.
You lost my son and my mom in jail.
I was just trying to keep them safe. Your mother doesn't seem mentally stable. And also, I don't want anything else accidentally stolen.
Wait, sweetheart. Who's that guy again?
Lorraine grabs Edna by the hand.
You've got to go back to the village. I knew it was going to put you there. I don't like it here, though. You can't take care of you anymore. You have to go back. But I'm fine.
Lorraine begins to lead Edna out of the room. She firmly plants her feet.
No, you're not. You've got to go back. I don't want to.
Lorraine gets Edna out of the room, but leaves Charlie in the chair with a stroke. He stares at the manager for a few minutes.
So, I didn't take the truck.
The manager counts the money in his desk.
Your mother paid enough, so I suppose.
He stuffs the extra change into his pocket. Lorraine opens the door, clearly annoyed, and motions for Charlie to get up. He hops from the chair and walks out the door with her while holding his truck. Fade to black. Thank you.
This is hashtag Walter and Addie Forever, an introduction. On the second day of school freshman year, we watched Dead Poets Society as a class. Addison and I sat next to each other, laughing at Robin Williams and chatting quietly about the different poets. However, the mood shifted dramatically when the pivotal scene of the movie came on. I'm about to spoil it all, so if you've never seen it, sorry. The scene where Neil kills himself is one that is tense and suspenseful, decorated with creepy, lilting piano music and dark images. I was practically cowering under the table from anxious fear when Addison reached over and took my hand. Together, we white-knuckled our way through Neil's death up until the end of the movie. I remember thinking that it was pretty ballsy of her to grab my hand the way she did, because we'd only known each other for a day and a half, but I also remember feeling comfortable and loved, just from an act as simple as hand-holding. But it is not surprising to me now that I felt that way, because Addison has that gift of making everyone around her feel supported and appreciated and valued. Addison has always blown me away with how dedicated she is. Whether it is a play about a journalist's afterlife, a dissertation on Walter Cronkite, or even just a complicated pre-cal assignment, you can count on Addison to make it clean, precise, and polished. She throws herself into her work wholeheartedly, and is the only person I know whose first draft is really more like the 8th or 9th draft. She is unapologetically passionate about history, able to pull detailed facts about that one random battle we had that one time, like a magician pulls a rabbit out of a hat. She's sweet enough to bring cookies almost every day to playwriting, and should really be cast as a lead in every play we cold read for how enthusiastic she is when saying her lines. She is deliberate and smart with everything she says in class, even if it is just a side comment, and she writes some of the best historical fiction that I've ever read. Addison pushes me to be a better writer. She inspires me to be more courageous, more creative, more devoted to my own work. If I could write something as half as good as the refined drafts she turns in, I would happily be able to put down my pen for the rest of my life, because I will have made it. But Addison is more than these things. She's more than a history nerd, a plaid fanatic, a pawn connoisseur, or Mark Twain enthusiast. She's a terrific friend. She will always think of you before she thinks of herself, and she shows her love in small, seemingly simple ways. It's been an honor and a privilege to watch Addison grow into the person she is today, and it's been even more of an honor to share this show with her. I'm so proud of the confidence she's gained in herself, and I can't wait to see where it takes her. Addison always has been and will continue to be the dearest friend a girl could ask for, and I will be forever thankful for what she has taught me about writing, history, and most importantly, friendship. And remember, if you ever need a hand to hold, you've got one. Please join me in welcoming Addison Antonoff to the stage.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't know what to say. That's the first time I've heard that, but I'm going to get through this piece and not cry. That's today's goal. So, a little background on this piece. For those of you who don't know, you already know I love history. I also volunteer at Georgia Ranch Historical Park, which is a living history park, so think Colonial Williamsburg, but for Texas history and a much smaller budget and more animals. There are a lot of animals. But being there is really interesting because you're doing all this historical work. You're spinning cotton and things like that while in drafts. There's also a lot of modern stuff going on behind the scenes. As we like to say, a few anachronisms are okay if you're preventing the death of several guests. So I wrote a fiction piece inspired by an event that happened this summer. So that's what this is. It is called Chicken Massacre. Spoiler alert, chickens die. When pitching movies, a common tactic is to describe your screenplay as a mix between two well-known films. For example, Love Actually meets Goodfellas, or Wizard of Oz meets Pulp Fiction. Well, what happened to me this summer can only be described as Little House on the Prairie meets The Godfather. Exterior living history park day. I started working as an interpretive historian a few months ago. Basically, I get in a costume to portray some different time period. Most days I was assigned to the pioneer cabin. Every morning I would open the cabin windows, set up the spinning wheel, and open the chicken coop, which is home to our 12 Plymouth Rock chickens. One morning I opened the coop and count. There are, as usual, 12 chickens. Oh God. Actually, correction, there are 11 3/4 chickens in the coop. 11 of them walk out and go on their merry way, but the 3/4 is tucked in the corner and doesn't move. Did you know that you can tell what killed your chicken by how it's been eaten? If a chicken is missing the head and internal organs, a raccoon got to it. If it's been dragged off and eaten in private, the bobcat is the one to blame. But if the chicken had been mixed in with pasta to make a nice carbonara, an Italian is probably the one at fault. This, however, was a raccoon's doing. But being pioneers, we're used to things like this happening. So we patched up a hole in the chicken coop and went on with our day. Exterior, living history park. The next day, I opened the coop to what appears to be the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. But instead of 7 members of the Northside gang, there are 4 dead chickens lying on the ground. We weren't stressed. Sometimes raccoons got into a scrape with our birds. That's the cost of being a member of this pioneer family or something. We set traps throughout the park and went on with our day, assuming that would be the end of it. Exterior, living history park, the day after that. I'll spare the gruesome details and just tell you there are no more chickens. That first day hadn't been an outlier, it was a warning. Yesterday was just a warm-up. Some gang of raccoons had come for us, and I want to reiterate, we didn't care about the fact that our chickens were dead. Death is kind of a commonplace thing with farm animals, but what we cared about was the fact that those damn raccoons came onto our turf and it was rightfully ours. It was time to get even.
Exterior Living History Park the following afternoon. The park is so big that we had to take golf carts to get from one site to another into the break room. So that afternoon, Michael, who is best described as a young toothpick of a blacksmith, had offered to take me and Cindy in for lunch. Cindy didn't exactly belong in this park. She was very soft, not in a bad way. She was a kindergarten teacher of both profession and personality. This was her summer job, and the chicken massacre had taken a toll on her gentle soul. Michael in the driver's seat and Cindy in the passenger seat talk as we head in. It's a normal, friendly conversation until Cindy mentions, "I heard you guys caught a raccoon this morning." Michael is suddenly silent. He gives a curt nod in response. "What'd you do with him?" When Michael finally speaks, I swear to God he has a different accent. It's like an Italian mobster, which is an accent I can't do. So bear with me. "We took care of it." Cindy gasped. If she'd been wearing pearls, they would have been clutched. "What on earth does that mean?" Another long silence. "You don't want to know." Exterior Living History Park the next morning. I had found that conversation a little odd, but I didn't think much of it at the time. I leaned against the blacksmith shop where I had been assigned that day and waited for Michael. He had to take a look at something that needed fixing, but told me to meet him on site. From the corner of my eye, I see a golf cart. Michael is driving, and he's accompanied by a stout 5 o'clock shadow of a man who has a bright red handkerchief in his breast pocket. This man has a gun slung over his shoulder. They drive right by me, and a couple 100 feet away, we had set a raccoon trap, and that is where they stop. Michael walks over to it, and like a careful, gentle animal lover that he is, kicks the cage. The man saunters towards it, cocks his gun, and shoots. Michael picks up the trap, walks over to the river that runs through the park, and tosses the carcass into the muddy water. They drive away. Again, I'm not too worried. At least the alligators are getting fed, I guess. But then Michael comes back to the blacksmith shop. He tells me that he had to look at a latch on one of the cabin windows. I nod, pretending to believe him, as we start to open the doors and windows of the shop. Eventually, I muster up the courage to ask, as casually as possible, "How's the raccoon vengeance going?" "It's fine," it's that Italian mobster voice again. Now all that's left to do is start the forge fire. I grab the newspaper and hand it to Michael as I ask, "Caught any since yesterday?" Silence. He takes the paper and picks up a box of matches. He lights one before replying, "No." Takes the flame to the newspaper, and I haven't heard a thing about a raccoon either. He places the ball of burning newspaper into the fire pot. Without a word, he starts turning on the blower. Then, Michael gives me a look that I've never seen before. That basically said, if I told anyone this story, I could expect to wake up with a bloody raccoon head under my covers. Or worse. So I sure hope you guys enjoy the story, because if not, it really won't be worth waking up to a dead raccoon head. But I hope you did enjoy. So thank you.
Where's Kelly's intro? It was here, I promise. And if not, we're gonna lose. That's not a good thing. No, okay. I remember it, so it's okay. All right, so Kelly Kinsella. She's super great, one of my bestest friends, and we actually didn't know each other in 8th grade because she doesn't remember it, but we had lockers next to each other, but we never talked. Not one word, just stares. That's it, that's all that was exchanged. And then Artist Academy came around since we both got into creative writing, as you can see. I was still really hungry after lunch. Again, story of my life. And I asked her to come with me to get this salad, and the thing about this salad was it wasn't a good salad. It was terrible. It had all the things that I disliked in it, but the thing is, I got a friendship out of it, which is extremely ironic. A salad that I hated for one of the greatest friendships that I have now. Score. So a little bit, skip ahead after that, about a couple months later, my birthday rolled around, and I invited her to come to my house just to spend the night. And I don't remember much from that night, but all I know is that I got a great friendship out of it. and ever since then we've been extremely inseparable. When you first get to know Kelly, she's really quiet, really not much of a fan of talking, but once you do get to know her, she's really witty, extremely funny, and has a lot to say. So it is my pleasure to introduce my writing partner in crime, my cat-loving best friend, Kelly Kinsella.
Hi, would all my actors please come up? So he's Toast. I wrote this last semester. It's about this woman who finds a piece of toast at a diner, and the diner's owner tries to use her to get famous. So, hope you enjoy. Exterior, Alsaville Diner, day. A crowd stands outside the diner, everyone looking at the spectacle before them. All the major news networks, and some minor ones as well, have their trucks parked haphazardly in the parking lot. A sea of cameramen and reporters swarms a short, stocky woman, Benny Lee Ray, 32. She waves a cupped hand at the crowd as if she were the queen. Beside Benny Lee stands Buford Aspern, 47, who's decked out in the diner's logo. Ollie Oxenfree, 28, shoves his way through the many reporters to Benny Lee in Buford. He straightens his jacket and quickly combs his mustache with a pocket comb. He gives his cameraman a thumbs up, then lifts a microphone plastered with the number 11 to his lips.
I'm here in the small southern town of Ossaville, population 1,033. Now you may ask, what could be so important that I was asked to travel over 2,000 miles to the middle of nowhere? Well,
Ollie pauses to hover his arm just close enough around Benny Lee's shoulders to give the illusion that he's touching her.
I'm here with Miss Benny Lee Ray and Mr. Buford Asper to tell you to stick around for the break.
Interior, Nay Talent Agency continuous. Mo Nay, 52, leans back in his chair as he stares at the TV.
Another TV commercial break? This is why TV is going to be buried in 2 years tops.
Beth Tippler, 48, struts in and dumps a stack of letters in front of Mo.
Yeah, I get it. You read Business Insider and now you know the future. Did you see this coming?
Beth throws a letter at Mo. Across the top of the letter, it says overdue payment. Mo straightens and hesitantly picks up the letter. He groans when he opens the letter.
You're in too deep. We only have one client.
Mo gestures at the TV.
And he's only on Channel 11. They'd hire anyone with decent looks and the ability to read. He's no money maker.
Yeah, well, tell me in advance if this business is going to flop. But until then, I'll be scouring the internet for the next Justin Bieber.
The world doesn't need another Justin Bieber.
But you do.
Exterior, Alsaville Diner continuous. The crowd has grown larger. People have begun climbing on the roofs of their trucks in order to catch a glimpse of Benny Lee. The cameraman puts down the camera while Ollie takes out a mirror and toothpick and goes digging for food particles. Buford approaches Ollie.
You look like you need a pick-me-up. Coffee's $1.50, but I'll give it to you special for $1.20.
Ollie doesn't look up.
Do you make your own?
We make our own, and it's very popular, and it's always the...
I'll hold out, thanks.
Ollie tucks his toothpick into one of Buford's many pockets. The cameraman stands up and starts rolling again.
Welcome back.
Interior, Nay Talent Agency continuous. Mo turns up the volume of the TV.
Bet, it's back on.
Coming!
Exterior, Alsaville Diner continuous. Buford grins, Benny Lee preens.
Today is a momentous day. Benny Lee thought she was only going to find breakfast in this diner, but instead...
A scrum-diddly-umptious pancake toast and hush puppies combo for $6.99 that comes with extra large for 79 cents.
Ollie's eye twitches.
Instead, she found a miracle. Benny Lee, tell me, what were you thinking when you drove here?
All of the hush puppies I was going to eat right here.
She gestures wildly at the diner behind her.
And Ossaville's best eating place.
Benny Lee winks at Buford, who gives her a thumbs up. Ollie watches the interaction with a slight grimace, but quicker than it appears, it's replaced with a large and stiff smile.
What happened when you ordered your food?
I ordered, and he, the waiter,
Benny Lee pauses for Ollie to nod.
he walked off with the order.
She winks at Buford again.
Ants? Yes! Toast!
We have the best toast in Northeast Austin. We have rye and wheat and
But there was something special about your toast, Benny Lee. What was it?
It was wheat.
And
I saw Jesus on the toast.
A collective gasp comes from the crowd. Interior, nay, talent agency, continuous. Mo snorts.
People get famous for anything these days.
So, that's our solution. Maybe we should call that woman and ask, no, beg to represent her.
Oh, I don't know. Look at her.
Mo emphatically gestures at the TV screen, which prominently displays Benny Lee.
This isn't the time for being judgmental. I'm going to make the call.
Exterior, Alsaville Diner, continuous.
can we see the toast?
Benny Lee slowly pulls a piece of toast from out of her back pocket. She lifts it above her head, the face of Jesus prominent and facing the sky. The crowd erupts and cheers, and everyone pushes to get closer. Buford shoves Ollie to the ground and is rushed to throw himself in front of Benny Lee. He begins to hiss at the crowd.
wait, heathens, all of you. Get inside, protect Jesus.
Benny Lee scurries inside, almost tripping over her own feet. Interior, nay, talent agency, continuous. Mo's at his desk, his head in his hands.
They agree. Buford, Benny Lee, and the toast will be here tomorrow.
Great.
We need this.
That's what makes this harder.
Interior, nay, talent agency, next day. Across from Mo sits Benny Lee and Buford, the toast in the seat next to them.
Miss Ray, Mr. Asper, how are you?
We want you to book them interviews or press events for our toast.
Benny Lee absentmindedly nods while she strokes her stomach. Buford notices and hands her a little baggie of peanuts. Instantly, Benny Lee is consumed by the peanuts and nothing else exists but them.
Cutting right to the chase. Okay. Can I touch the toast?
As Mo says this, he stretches over the desk towards the toast seat. Suddenly, a man in dark clothing and sunglasses steps out from behind a plant and slaps Mo's hand away.
You hired a bodyguard?
Mo cradles his hand.
Everyone's out to get our toast.
Mo looks at Benny Lee again, who's shoveling peanuts into her mouth until her cheeks are full and she could pass as a squirrel. Her eyes are transfixed on the toast, but her face is blank. There's no way of telling what she's thinking.
Beth,
Beth comes in. She raises an eyebrow.
get these people an interview.
Who with?
Anyone.
No, we want Guy Fieri, Ellen DeGeneres, all the big names.
It's best to start local, then wow the whole nation.
But I mean, we have enough star power to wow the whole entire world.
I know what I'm doing. You've seen how I've created many stars in Austinville. Just look at Ollie.
Fine, we'll go local first.
Mo nods as he scribbles down something in front of him.
There's a county fair this whole week. They'd love to dedicate a booth to the toast.
A whole booth?
Buford's eyes twinkle. Exterior, county fair, next day. Benny Lee and the bodyguard stand beside Buford, who holds a cooler, the toast inside. Benny Lee munches on a candy bar. Off to the side stand Beth and Mo.
County fair is paying us $1,000. Apparently, this is the largest crowd in Austinville County Fair history, all because of the toast. And that's not it. In a few hours, an Ellen representative will call if there's an open slot for the toast.
Wow, this is all working out. I can repay the debts in no time, and I can buy that boat I've always wanted.
Don't get carried away. We need to make the spending.
Right.
But Mo isn't paying attention. His mind is somewhere else, thinking about the different models of boats he can buy. Exterior, county fair, later. The toast booth is by far the most crowded. People are pushing to see it. Buford is absorbing all the fame like he's always had it. Benny Lee is in the corner eating deep-fried butter, but her eyes are glued to the toast.
Step right up and see the magical toast blessed by Jesus.
A mom shoves herself and her kid to the front. The mom coos, however the kid scrunches his nose and frowns.
I don't see anything. Am I supposed to see something?
The crowd gasps. Many individuals have murderous looks in their eyes.
Well, calm down. It's just a kid. Now, you're telling me you really don't see a face in that toast.
The kid squints.
Yeah, I guess I sort of did.
And who does it look like?
Jared Leto?
His mom slaps her hand over her son's mouth and begins leading them away.
I am so sorry. I don't know what's gotten into him, but you
She looks at the toast.
can be sure that he was punished.
The crowd cheers. Exterior county fair later. Although the county fair is closing for the night, there's still a large crowd in front of the toast booth.
It was at my diner that Betty found this toast. She almost ate it. Can you imagine that? That would be a tragedy.
Benny Lee's head snaps up at that. She stares at Buford, pondering what he just said. She looks back at the toast, her face no longer blank. In fact, there's a sort of dopey smile on her face.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but Ellen called back and she agreed. The toast will be a featured guest on the show in 2 days.
Everyone cheers and fist pumps. Buford hugs the toast cooler. Benny Lee narrows her eyes at the toast. Interior Ellen DeGeneres Show studio 2 days later. Benny Lee, Buford, and Ellen share a couch. The toast has its own couch across from them. The bodyguard is a few paces away, hiding behind the curtains.
Hey everyone, let's dance right back into our seats for our next guest, Benny Lee Ray, Buford Aspern, and the man of the hour, Jesus Toast!
The crowd goes wild at the words Jesus Toast. Everyone and their mom holds up a poster dedicating their love to Jesus Toast. One man rips open his shirt and it's revealed that Jesus Toast is tattooed onto his chest. A woman attempts to run onto the stage for Jesus Toast, but the bodyguard tackles her instantly. Interior Nate Talent Agency continuous. Mo watches from his desk. Beth glides in and hands Mo an envelope. He rips open the envelope and takes out a check worth a few $1,000s.
Beth, no need to polish your resume. We're going to be okay.
Thanks to Jesus. But what's going to happen when that toast becomes old news?
That won't happen for another week. We have nothing to worry about.
Mo relaxes back in his chair, feet resting on his desk.
Still, we should pay off the debt now and save the rest of the money.
I already spent it. Like I said, we'll be fine.
Gnawing on her lip, Beth looks at Mo. Interior Ellen DeGeneres Show studio continuous. The crowd is only slightly more calm than it was before. Lights up on the inside of a courthouse. A judge's podium and a witness stand are set up facing the audience. There are tables set up for the lawyers. Townspeople are milling about and chatting, creating a gentle hum in the air. Many hold signs at their side that plaster supportive encouragements. A man, dressed in a suit and holding a microphone, comes out on stage, Morris Delusion. He speaks in a booming reporter voice.
This is Morris Delusion, reporting from the courthouse here in New Hope, Pennsylvania. I'm here for the courthouse case of the century, Ernest Crane versus Lewis Norton. For the past few months, the town's resident child prodigies have been skirting around each other about stolen bucks and crayons. This trial's been a long time coming, and everyone is waiting with bated breath. Hold it, I think. Yes, here they come.
Two groups of people come out on stage. Group 1, led by a boy of about 9, enters stage left. Group 2, also led by a boy of about 9, enters stage right. The groups contain what seems to be lawyers, parents, reporters, press. The lawyers sit down at their tables, but the boys stop and stare each other down, Western style. Perhaps a tumbleweed blows across the stage or a hawk screeches in the sky.
Did anyone else feel a chill all over the room? I'm gonna even grab my whole sweater. Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it here first.
As he speaks, the townspeople start to get rowdy, cheering. Some hoist signs that say things like, Louis the Looter, Ernest the Extraordinary, or Ernest Sticky Fingers Crane. The kids go sit down next to their dads at their table.
The Ernest Crane versus Lewis Norton's case has officially begun.
Suddenly, the judge stalks on stage, gown swinging around his legs. He's licking his fingers, mouth still full of something. He walks over and climbs up to his podium.
All right. The case of Crane versus Norton is now called to session. Bear with me, I haven't actually read this case yet. I was only called to it last night. I've got the notes though, so we're ready to roll. Now, it says here that Mr. Ernest Crane is suing Mr. Lewis Norton for the theft of a 64 pack of Crayola crayons. Bailiff, what the hell is this?
The bailiff steps up from the corner where he's standing.
I thought it would be entertaining, sir.
I don't have time for your jokes. The case is called off. Bailiff, you're fired.
The crowd riots.
Interesting turn of events.
Mr. Crane, Lewis's dad, stands.
Sir, if I may, this is a multi-million-dollar court case. I assure you that you would be paid well if you move forward.
Bailiff, you're unfired. The court is now in session.
The crowd cheers again. He screams over them.
But Jesus Christ, simmer down! We'll take the first witness. Mr. Crane to the podium.
Ernest Crane takes the stand. And boy, what a little guy.
A small blonde boy walks over to the witness stand. He's wearing a sweater vest and round-rimmed glasses. The bailiff helps him over to the podium and drags his step stool over so he can climb up and sit down. He nods his head in thanks, and Mr. Norton begins his questioning.
Mr. Crane, could you please share your side of the story with me?
Certainly. The day my life ended became normally enough. I rose early, had a wholesome breakfast of kale and spinach smoothie. That stuff's great, you know. I packed my bag for another day as a freshman in a New Hope High. I packed my lunchbox, my textbooks, my notebooks, my spare glasses, my headgear, my laptop, my calculator, my pocket protector, my pocket protector, and of course my pack of 64 colored Crayola crayons. I was instructed to bring them by my art teacher, Miss Dreamer. I never wanted to disobey my elders, comply. The morning rolled on smoothly enough. In fact, the only thought I had was when I bumped into Mr. Norton, who I would like to point out since that Mr. Norton's head is so big. It sits in most of the hallway, and I can understand how he would have had trouble keeping out of people's way.
Mr. Norton whips his head up in shock and anger.
Oh, we struck a nerve.
Objection, Your Honor. My wife and I had our son's head measured, and it's no bigger than the average child. If it is any bigger, it's simply because his brain is so stuffed with knowledge.
Yeah. Take that.
Sustained? Anyway, we bump into each other and our stuff goes flying. I panic about being late to class, so I was going to realize that my crayons are missing until it was too late, and I get to art, and he had stolen them.
No, I didn't, turd burglar.
Shut up, Snotbrain. I'm telling the story here.
Whatever, fart face, I'm smarter than you.
Yeah, right. I knew how to solve quadratic equations when you were still sucking on your mommy's boobies.
See, that's so hard. Your fists might be next.
Lewis advances toward Ernest, but the bailiff holds him back. The townspeople are screaming.
All right, shut up.
Bangs his gavel calms down the courtroom.
You lawyer your dads to keep your kids under control. I don't want my courtroom being turned into a playground.
Ernest sits back down in his seat and adjusts his sweater vest, clears his throat.
I apologize, sir. It was uncouth and immature for me to lose my temper the way I did. Yeah. Mr. Norton, carry on.
Mr. Crane, why is it you believe that Mr. Norton stole your pack of crayons?
Well, you should know as well as anyone that Mr. Norton and I have been in the competition since we were in diapers. This town is hardly big enough for 2 child prodigies. We've been trying for the same cause since we were 5 years old. Mr. Norton has sabotaged me several times in the last few years to try to hinder my chances of a successful application.
Mr. Crane is certainly spilling the tea all over this courtroom floor.
But what would that have to do with the stolen box of crayons?
Well, what wouldn't have to do with the stolen box of crayons? If he had the nerve to steal my crayons from right under my nose, who's to say he wouldn't steal my chance at college from right under my nose? And then soon a job opportunity from right under my nose. Pretty soon, he'll have taken over my entire life just because nobody caught him the time he stole my box of crayons. Besides, you know what they say.
Sighs exasperately and dramatically rolls his eyes.
Crayola one day, world domination the next.
Okay, all right. But you don't think that anyone, could have just picked up the box of crayons off the ground and walked away with them?
Well, no, I don't think that at all. Mr. Norton, if I just thought that somebody had just walked away with them, I wouldn't have sued your son. The only reason we're all here in this mess is because I think that dimwit stole them from me.
Hey, shut up, butthead. I'll countersue you.
The big guns are out.
The crowd roars, standing up. Ernest leaps down from his podium again and tries to jump on Lewis. The bailiff holds him back, and Morris Delusion is yelling excitedly.
I don't believe this, Steve. I don't believe this.
Oh my God, I went to law school for this. Order in the court. Come on, enough. Okay, Mr. Crane, I think we've heard quite enough from you. Sit down before you embarrass yourself anymore. Bailiff, bring up the next witness.
Ernest hops off the podium onto the step stool and sits down, slightly disappointed. Mr. Crane stands up and walks over in front of the judge's podium. Lewis, a short boy with curly brown hair and wearing a brown suit, stands up and walks over to the witness stand. He uses the step stool to climb up to the podium.
All right, Mr. Norton, let's hear what you've got to say. How did this whole thing start?
Well, it happened almost exactly like Mr. Crane said. I got to school that fateful morning ready to make it a good Monday. And it was indeed a good Monday. I earned an A on my calculus test. Now, because of this, I may or may not have gone through the halls a little quicker than I would have on a normal basis. But I was just rejoicing in my good grades. After all, I am still only 9, and both springy and sprightly. Mr. Crane and I bump into each other, our stuff goes flying, we gather it up again, a small stare down like we do every time we see each other, and move on with our lives. But I can assure you that I never stole his crayons.
I see.
I mean, come on, what would I have to do with a box of crayons? I haven't used them since I was only a year old. After all, I'm not a baby like some people I know.
He glares pointedly at Ernest, who reacts loudly.
Really? Really? At least I wasn't so much of a baby that I cried after losing a middle school spelling bee. I mean, come on, we were 6 years old, practically grown men, and you were sitting in the corner, blubbering away.
Never talk about that again.
You cried in front of everybody. You cried in front of the whole state of Pennsylvania, because it was being broadcast on PNC. You cried in front of Moore's Delusion.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Creighton, better shut your ugly face.
And what was the word you couldn't spell? I remember it being something fairly easy. Something along the lines of...
You don't.
Triskaidekaphobia. It was triskaidekaphobia. T-R-I-S-K.
Lewis screams and jumps on Ernest. They collide with each other, falling on the ground. They're both weak little 9-year-olds, so they can't do much more than softly smack each other in the arms, shrieking loudly. The crowd is on its feet. Morris Delusion is screaming, "Fight! Fight! Fight!" The bailiff is fist-bumping in time to Morris's chant, smiling loudly. The dad attorney's watching horror, and the judge, after looking on in disbelief, starts banging his gavel to no avail.
Judge Import, are you going to do something?
Aren't you? They are my kids.
Bailiff!
The bailiff stops, his smile dropping.
Fine.
He pulls a whistle out of his pocket and attempts to blow it, but it must be broken because he can only make weird air sounds. After struggling a bit more, the boys rolling around on the ground in front of him the entire time, he gives up.
If you can hear my voice, clap once.
Ernest and Lewis involuntarily pop up and clap once. Immediately after, they shuffle awkwardly and embarrassedly away from each other.
As entertaining as this is, the attorneys have had quite enough. Back to your seats.
Oh, man.
They all sulk back to their seats. The boys are both unharmed because neither one was strong enough to inflict any kind of real damage.
Now, since you both decided to finally stop acting like monkeys on crack, I'll end this one. You guys are starting to give me a stress headache. Are there any other witnesses to call to the stand before I beat myself to death with my gavel?
He's cut off by the sound of the door opening. A man in a dirty janitor suit steps inside. He's holding a brown paper bag and whistling. Once he sees everyone in the room staring at him, his whistle dies out.
This case gets more interesting by the second. What appears to be a homeless man has just crashed the phone.
Sorry. Didn't know anybody was in here. Bailiff around?
The bailiff walks over to the man.
I'm the bailiff. Are you lost, sir?
Nah, I don't think so. I was told by Sheriff Kolby down at the station to bring this to you.
He holds out the paper bag, which has the word evidence scrawled out messily on it. The bailiff takes the bag and peers inside. Everyone looks at him. He looks to the judge. For the first time since this damn case has started, the room is silent.
I think I found your last witness, sir.
The bailiff reaches in the bag and pulls out a box of 64-count colored crayons.
Hey, those are mine.
Yeah, those are yours.
He's a thief.
Whoa. Look, hold the freaking phone. I'm not the thief. I'm just the janitor who owes mine. Last week I was moving around and I found these lying in the hallway. So I picked them up. It's my niece's birthday this month. She's turning 7. I thought, hey, that'd be a nice present for her. And I'd take a dime or two along the way. You know how these minimum wage jobs are. You barely squeak by and there's no room for extra spending. Anyway, turned on the news just now. And figured they were pretty important. I just came talking them back to the kids at Boston.
There's a pause as the room lets this sink in.
Whoa, watch out. Almost got hit in the face with that curveball.
Another pause. This news has obviously shocked the socks off of everybody in the room, and nobody quite knows how to react.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We spent so long on this stupid case and now it's not even real? What the heck are we supposed to do now?
A heavy pause. Unexpectedly, Judge Import bursts into laughter. In between giggles, he beats his gavel on the podium. He is almost manic with elation when he speaks.
What are we supposed to do now? What are we supposed to do now? We're all going to go home, and I'm going to sit in the bubble bath with a bottle of wine is what we're going to do now. I'm really happy to say case dismissed. But you can't.
The townspeople titter in disappointment. Ernest and Lewis stare at Import, sputtering. The judge climbs down from his podium before stopping in front of Mr. Crane.
Oh, and I expect a check at my desk by Monday. See, I'll never.
He skips out of the room. Everybody is silent and avoiding eye contact for a long while. The townspeople file out silently. The bailiff follows them, and soon the only ones left on stage are the Cranes, the Nortons, and Morris Delusion.
Well, this might have been the most off-the-wall case I've ever had the pleasure of reporting. I see. I sure was lucky to be here to see it all, but I'm even luckier to have a chance to interview both of these smart, strapping young lads. Ernest, bring it for you.
Ernest walked slowly over to Morris Delusion, still shocked at the turn of events.
Ern, how are you feeling?
Flabbergasted, to be quite honest. I certainly didn't expect the case to take that sharp of a turn. I am glad that it's over, though, but I have a feeling that Lewis will be back up to his old trick before long.
Another case for another day. Hey, before I start the interview, can I have your autograph? I'd love to have it before you get all rich and famous.
Mr. Delusion, I'd be honored. In fact, I've got a special pin I saved just for autographs. It's made of woolly mammoth tusk and chivitea bamboo roots, and laid in solid gold.
He reaches into his pocket. A look of concern crosses his face, and he starts to root around frantically. He holds up a finger and goes to the other pocket, searching desperately.
I can't find it. I can't find my special autograph. What am I going to do? Where could it have gone? I don't.
Realization dawns on his face, and a volcano explodes inside of him.
Lewis!
Morris Delusion whips around to the audience, eyes wide with horror. Ernest screams long and loud as the lights go down. End of play.
This is my last piece. And first I want to say thanks to my friends and family. I don't know where I'd be without y'all. Really, I'm a mess sometimes. It's okay. And also there's one person that I really do like to thank, and I saw her walk in, I don't know where she is, but it's Miss Kruger-Miller, and she was the one who got me to start writing in the first place. And if it wasn't for her, I would not be in the place that I am now. So this is my creative nonfiction piece about my previous job. Ooh, what a dream. Okay. First, let me say title. The Chronicles of Spirit of Halloween, The Dust, The Trish, and The Black Door. First, Mom and Dad, I love you, and I'm sorry you're finding out about this way. Some things are better left unsaid. I was out of money and in need of a job. My bank account craved money. Even just a few cents would please it, but it was completely empty. I went to Randall's to grab a few tomatoes for my mom whenever I came across a now hiring poster. A little girl in a fairy costume stood to the left of these bold letters. I mean, I could call her my own fairy job mother, but that'd be a little weird because this girl looked to be about a third grader. The other thing that caught my attention for this was the bold letters stating starting pay $9 an hour. My heart jumped and I internally screamed. Once I got home, I immediately typed in the link and filled out the generic questions. Are you above the age of 18? Yes. Have you ever committed any felonies? None that I know of. Have you ever worked for Spencer's or Spirit Halloween before? No. Why do you think I'm applying? Do you abuse any type of illegal substance? No. I don't lean that way and I don't think I ever will. By the grace of God, I got the job, and 24 hours later, I was greeted by a broken baby doll on a tricycle. It wailed, and its glowing red eyes lit up every time a new sound appeared from the mouth. Don't mind her, I heard. I looked up and saw a woman's head behind a computer screen. She rides around the store for promotion and greets customers. Man, there's nothing like an evil baby on a tricycle to say, hey, what's up? Buy our things. Are you Kolby? She asked. Last time I checked. Did I say that? No. I wish I did, though. I just nodded my head and she motioned me to stand behind the register in the store. I would have expected it to be more festive, but it was quite the opposite. The walls were in off-white and the floors were completely stripped of the previous tile. The glue residue coated the floor, so every time my soles made contact with the ground, they would make this sticky sound. Along with that, the store itself was really dusty. Every time I breathed, a little sneeze would escape my nose, and a bless you was spoken every 2 minutes. What can you work this week? My new boss snapped me out of my days. Basically every day except for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays. She rolled her eyes. I mean, all right, I guess that can work. I moved out of her way and she began typing something on a blurry screen. I asked for her name because, you know, she never gave it to me. Trish, she groaned. I already told you this. Wow, Trish got 2. Well, apparently she gave it to me. What'd you want me to call her? Boss man? Boss woman? Boss? Ruler of the spirit? Brianna, get her a bun. I look over to a girl in a purple apron. I assumed this was Brianna. Her eyes rolled and she pulled out a box of buttons. The Grim Reaper lived on all of them and honestly looked a lot happier than I did. Her phone began to ring again, and before she shooed me away, the caller was greeted with a cold-hearted, "What the hell do you want now?" and walked away to the back of the store. A black door labeled "Employees Only" shut right behind her. She goes back there a lot. What does she do back there, I asked. That's not for me to explain, Brianna replies. We sit in silence for a few seconds before she speaks up again. Anyways, welcome to the team. Don't mind Trish. She's a handful and no one really likes her anyways. You'll be working with me a lot. I gave her a lighthearted smile and walked out of the store. Tricycle Baby didn't forget to greet me on the way out either. I only worked 4 full shifts from the time I got hired to a few days after Halloween, and I learned a lot about everyone and everything that was within those white-ish walls. Mainly about Trish, the head-shaven and completely ink-covered woman who ruled the entire store. She carried herself at like a 6'5" height, but she was really like 4'8" and could barely reach the second to top shelf to get a loose item. Whenever she wasn't standing and walking around, she would sit on her tree stump behind the register. This wasn't a metaphor, I'm talking about a literal tree stump. Someone had to uproot this out of the ground and carry it in there for Trish to sit on. It was practically her throne where she ruled over the entire store. She wasn't worthy to sit on that trunk of wood. She always had a Bluetooth headphone in her ear at all times. Everyone thought she was talking to herself, but really she would be complaining to someone on the other side of the line. It seemed to me as if it were her personal lifeline, a spinal cord to her own manager position, if I could describe it. My other coworkers weren't terrible to work with either. A majority of them didn't talk to me as often as they talked to each other. I mean, I've seen one coworker of mine be chased by a 10-foot animatronic spider, edibles have been offered to me about twice per shift, and vape clouds always hovered the atmosphere of the entire store. It was due to one of my other coworkers. Let's call him Vape God, our own personal fog machine. I personally think it added to the Halloween-esque feel of it all. Second to last shift, I got asked to go to the stockroom. I was still completely lost when it came to specific places, even after working only 2 weeks. I could barely put costumes back in the right places. This store was more unorganized than my entire future plans thus far. How do they think I'm gonna know where the stockroom is? Where is that exactly? I asked her. She stood up from her throne and told me to follow her. She opened the same employees only door, and behind it was bland, muggy, and just like the rest of the store, dusty. The only thing back here were boxes on shelves, a table, and 2 skeletons cuddling in a corner. Must be nice. Up there, get those costumes. I lifted my head up to see a box half hanging, half sitting on a non-sturdy surface. Are you sure this is safe? I asked her. Positive, I went up there this morning. I shrugged and stood on a very high step stool to grab this giant box. I threw it down into the gray stone, and as I planted my feet onto the ground, I hear this snort. Not the snort of someone trying to clear their sinuses, but a bigger one. I turned to look at Trish, and she has a single dollar bill rolled up into her nose, and 2 rows of white dust sat on the even dustier table. I only understood what was happening when she asked me, "What, you've never seen a woman do a line of coke before?" I shook my head, wide-eyed. That wasn't even a pure line of coke. It was 40% cocaine and 60% dust. Do you want some? Did I want some? Did it look like I wanted some? No, I'm all right. I grabbed the box and started to walk out the door. I stopped in the doorway and waited for her. She stuffed the bag back into her tiny pant pocket and left the dollar bill back on the tabletop. George Washington was disappointed. I was stunned. I never thought a Halloween store would be the place for me to encounter cocaine for the first time. I thought the closest thing I'd ever come to drugs, besides the ones that were offered to me by the edibles, would be sometime in college. I wasn't even part of that tear-down crew. Thank God. I was cleaning up the floor whenever I got the get out look and felt really ecstatic. I dropped the costumes in my arms onto the sticky residue and clocked out. As I was walking out of the door, I felt something hit my foot. Tricycle Baby sat at the front of me, and its wail erupted from its mouth one last time. I turned the other way, and it rode off into the bright fluorescent light toward the other side of the store. Its own happy ending brought a tear to my eye. As I made it back to my car, I decided to give myself an exit interview. Did you ever end up enjoying the baby on the tricycle? I will never enjoy the creepy baby on the tricycle. Do you wish you were still at that job? Explain. I would say yes and no. Yes, because I don't know what could top the dusty coke, and no, because there could be the off chance I would get arrested and I wouldn't be doing anything wrong. Do you ever wonder what Trish answered to whenever she was asked if she did drugs? I'm assuming she said she did all the drugs. and continued it with hashtag no regrets. She was probably on something when she was filling it out. Did you ever feel the spirit of Halloween while you worked there? I felt the spirit of something. Next Halloween, round 2? I don't think I'll ever be going back. Some things you need to close in life and never open up. This is something that will be pushed into my repressed memories and be spoken of around a fire with a group of friends. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. Thank you!
All right, so last piece of my lovely actors are going to be doing a bit of a set change for me. So, you didn't know, I'm Jewish. Plot twist. Everyone who already knows me is rolling their eyes. So, what my dear friends are about to read is a satire, and the pedantic version is it's an examination of anti-Semitism and Jewish erasure in Christian-centric society, but the fun version is someone yelling at their son for about 5-10 minutes. So I think I'm going to let them show that a little bit more than me just explaining it. So I'm very grateful to have Ashtaka Porter reading as Jesus, Jordan Oakley reading as the Virgin Mary, and Milo Acker reading stage directions. So please enjoy.
A deli built in Roman style. Imagine that. Instead of in 1979, Katz's Deli was created at the height of Roman architectural revolution. It's a Saturday afternoon and the place is practically deserted. Most people are eating a late lunch after temple at home. Mary and Jesus are seated at a table center. Jesus shoves a forkful of kugel into his mouth.
Jesus, you were born in a barn, not raised in one.
I'm hungry!
What? You can walk on water, but you can't chew with your mouth closed?
Sorry, Mom.
I forgive you, Googler.
How are you doing?
Can't kvetch. The ankles are a sore little sore. It gets worse when the weather changes. Hope it doesn't run on the family. Joe's business is doing well as long as they don't find out he's a Jew. There's a lot of stuff to rebuild.
Well, here's hoping they don't find out.
From your lips to God's ears. So, what have you been up to, Bula? How's the job search going?
Got an offer from some guy to keep turning water into wine. He has a huge lake on his land.
Ooh, what's that name? Would I know from Temple?
Manischewitz, I think his name was. Doesn't matter though, I turned it down.
Why on earth would you do something like that?
I don't know. I don't want miracles like that to become my shtick.
You know, I don't mind you taking the time to figure out what you want to do, but you're going to have to pay the bills somehow.
Ma, I like traveling. I don't want to settle down.
Whatever happened to that nice Mary Magdalene of yours?
It wasn't like... It didn't work out, okay?
And why is that?
What does it matter? You didn't like her anyway. You should be glad.
I liked her just fine.
You were always complaining because you never saw her mother at temple.
Well, if she doesn't have a good mother, how is she supposed to be about boats? And things I've heard about her.
It didn't work out.
Why?
I didn't feel like we were equals. We met because she wanted me to heal her.
What does that have to do with getting married? It's a mitzvah to repair the world, you know.
It's just... We're just friends.
Jesus, you're already 33 and you don't have anyone. Don't you want children?
Ma!
I think I deserve to know if I'm going to have grandchildren. Look, are you sure you want gay? I mean, it's just these next one child in that group of boys.
You mean the apostles?
Whatever you call yourself, I'm just asking if you spend a lot of time with me.
I'm not gay!
All right, you're what? No, I love you either way. I just thought, as your mother, I had the right to know.
Well, I'm not.
Don't trust them, Jesus. They're not good for you running around in those shamadas. You're never going to get a job looking like that.
Like what, Ma?
You're a balligan from head to toe. The hem of your tunic gives you up, your sandals are falling apart, your beard makes you look like a small piece of gefilte fish that needs to go to the doctor to look at it grow. I don't know which one's the biggest sharpie and closing your hair.
Oh, for the love of God!
You don't take your father's name in vain!
I've heard you do it a million times.
I carry this son in my body for 9 months. Take what I give it, little bit! You know I love you. I just don't understand why you insist on putting yourself in danger when you're perfectly capable of having a nice, stable life.
I'm fine, Mom.
Always become to travel and drawn so much attention. You felt like worry about it.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
You know that doesn't mean anything. They only need a small away.
Since when are you maven on world affairs?
Don't be like that. You've seen what people have been doing, what they've been saying, especially that Pontius Pilates.
It's Pontius Pilate, Mom.
Oh, well, whatever you say, yeah, you and your fancy friends know better than I do.
I'm not worried about him. He's more of a gym rat than politician.
Jesus, I'm serious.
And Herod's a Jew. He'd be more forgiving.
Oh, please, you would know a rabbi from a shit son. And he'd make an example out of you just so people would forget what he...
I'm not going to do anything stupid.
You've been running around spreading a bunch of made-up missions.
I think what I'm doing is important.
I don't like you out there on your own. I don't get it. We're not lost in the desert anymore. Just keep your head down. Why aren't you happy? Where did Joe and I go wrong? We took you to school. We gave you a great bar mitzvah. We raised you to be a good man of your faith.
Just because we're not in Exodus anymore doesn't mean that life is good.
I was running around making scenes supposed to help anything other than send you to an early grave.
I'm not making a scene!
What do you call the tourists outside the temple?
That was 3 years ago. I've learned from that lesson.
So was the wine thing, and people still come to you about it. People don't forget things like that. What makes you think you're invincible?
Well, for one, I'm the son of God.
So, we're his chosen people. But when has that ever helped us? God lived on earth. People would break his windows. Good, observant men like his stepfather are out working today instead of going to temple so they can keep their jobs.
So what do you want me to do? Stay at home with you the rest of my life?
Of course not. I want you to get a good job, have a nice home. You could be a carpenter.
I like the job I have, Mom.
You tell strangers to be nice to each other. That's not a job. That's futzing around.
I'm doing what I enjoy. Isn't that enough for you?
Listen to your mother. What you're doing is going to get you killed.
Enough! Did Moses have to put up with this from Jochebed?
Are you saying I sent you down the river? I'm trying to keep you safe that bad.
Stop twisting my words and listen to me.
I'm not twisting your words. I'm just responding to them. We're having a conversation. That's what you do over a nice meal. Not, you know, sister, I did an awful job raising you. You're comparing me to Jochebed. She's had to stay with the baby down now to keep him safe. Are you telling me she wasn't racked with guilt? You telling me to feel guilty?
That's not what I meant. What I meant was Moses yelled at the Pharaoh. Do you think his mother tried to stop him?
Why wouldn't she?
Because she believed in him.
I believe in you.
You've been telling me to stop since the manger.
I worry because I love you and you're good at what you do. Proselytizing never ends.
I'm not proselytizing. I'm trying to give a voice to the people who don't have one. I'm not rolling people up in Torah scrolls and smothering them until they agree to convert. Do you really think I'm, I don't know, drowning people in mikvahs or running around with a pair of scissors screaming, Brit Milah! And terrorizing random goyim?
Joshua H. Nazarene, there is no need for such language.
Why are you making such a big deal out of this?
You're running around with a target on your back. I can't keep you safe.
Mom.
Do you remember Jerusalem? You were so little and you got lost in the temple. Joe and I couldn't find you. Looked everywhere. I was so scared I lost you.
I kind of remember. You were crying when you found me. But you found me.
Well, I got afraid all the time now. I'm scared from when I wake up to when I go to sleep, but then I have nightmares about what could happen to you. It's exhausting, and I just want to know that you're safe.
Mom,
Enough of that. You're nothing but skin and bone. Eat. Eat.
Mother and son share a long look. Jesus picks up his sword and starts to eat. Blackout.
So our outro, Scott, we don't want you to leave. That's obviously what the missing outro means. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you again to our teachers, Ms. Swiddick, Ms. Apte, Brendan, all of our classmates who've been with us for the past 4 years and helped behind the scenes with this and everything else. If you feel like leaving a message to us, our journals are out on our altars over there. Thank you so much for coming.
We love all y'all. Thank y'all for coming. It means the absolute world to us. We've been working on this for a really long time, and now that you finally get to see it, it feels good.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.